don't do. I got plenty shoes. I got old town, but no place to go. Break don't do. I got plenty shoes. I got old town, but no place to go. Outside, baby, take me down and spin me.
Welcome back, everybody, to RideMSTA podcast. So, once again, Jerry's on assignment. This time he's checking dirt and trying to determine what tires are best for overlanding. That's what he says anyways. I'm not asking questions. So, we got RJ. Say hi, RJ.
Hello.
You know, every time I say that, I keep waiting for you to go, hi, RJ. Hey, we got Tom. Say hi, Tom.
Good evening.
That was one step away from Lurch. Good evening. I even
Exactly.
As you guys can tell, we've all been pretty busy this weekend, so we're trying to caffeinate up and bring some energy for you. But today, we're going to go through a couple little events real quick that are coming up for the MSTA. We got Fall Colors Rally coming up in Lewisburg, Virginia on September 26th. October 4th, Fall on Two Wheels in Suches, Georgia. October 11th, Byway Boogie in Clarksville, Arkansas. And the Coupe de Gracie, October 19th, starts the Star 2024 Rally in Kerrville, Texas. Have you signed up for the raffles yet? If not, they're out there. Do it. That GSX-8 is a really cool bike. The Nomar lift, definitely a solid piece of kit. And if you don't have a motorcycle lift in your garage and you do your own maintenance, what are you even doing with your life? It makes it so much easier. That said, I need to buy a new one. So,
I get up and down off the ground quite a bit.
Yeah, it seems like the older I get and the fatter I get, the harder that gets. But yeah, Nomar always makes good stuff. I mean, I've used their tire changers a ton in the past. You can't break their stuff. It's just solid. And you won't find anybody better at customer service than Nomar. So check them out. It's worth a few bucks to have a chance to win it, and the money goes to a good cause. So that's all we got for events. The season's winding down, everybody. I hate to see it, but it's coming.
Season? What's this thing called a season? No. The cool weather riding is about to start, where I'm not sweating my off every time I go out to the garage. This is prime riding season about to start.
RJ, are you hearing the same thing I'm hearing from Tom? And that's, hey, guys, you need to come down here for the next few months and hang out with me.
Yeah.
So we can ride our motorcycles all year round.
The sauna season's ending in Florida.
But event season is wrapping up either way, so I am
There you go.
kind of bummed. I mean, for those of us up in the north, yeah. It's going to hurt. And last year was so mild up here. I'm just waiting for the shoe to drop this year, and it's going to just not end.
Well, at least wait till after October, because I have a bike parked up in Rhode Island that I'm heading back up to in a couple of weeks. And then I'll do a little bit of riding just before the beginning of October. And then the end of October, we were hoping to head up into Vermont for a few days. So hopefully the ultra cold weather in the Northeast will hold off until November comes.
That's what I'm hoping for, too, because our last class of the year is the first weekend of October. So I'm hoping we get that warmish October, early November, so I can catch up on some riding time.
I also have classes year round. That doesn't stop for us.
Oh. I've got to quit taking
it. It has been super hot here all summer. This is like the nice cool season. However, we're starting to hit leave season now, so that always makes for some fun riding too.
Oh yeah, I love riding when the leaves change. It's just pretty.
For us, it's the leaves on the road and the chestnuts.
Oh,
We
okay.
get these giant chestnuts that are laying in the road, and they can make things get a little squiggly on you.
I can live with the leaves. Those chestnuts are not fun. Well, that's all we got going on for events. So we're gonna do a quick and dirty show. Why don't we go ahead and dig into the topics tonight? Tom, I got yours first, so why don't we kick off with yours? You did a little bit of digging on these new e-clutch systems.
So I have been interested in having a conversation about this for a couple of months, because and I want to address it on a couple of avenues. So if anybody, if you haven't been under a rock, you know that there's all kinds of new bikes coming out with a e-clutch. Basically, various manufacturers versions of automatic transmissions. And anytime you talk about automatic transmissions in motorcycles, that seems to create so much chatter about, especially there's a whole contingent of, well, that's not real motorcycling, and I have to be able to shift, and I want my connection. So I want to talk about it, but I want to lay a couple of things out. So automatics have been around for a long time. So scooters, we know, have CV transmissions. Okay, so they are clutchless and a pure twist and go automatic. Honda's been trying this for a while. They had the Honda-matic, what was that, in the 80s?
Yeah.
And then the DCT has been around since 2010, so 14 years. It's currently on its third iteration. I owned a Goldwing with a DCT, so had use of the automatic. And then now Honda's come out with a new e-clutch, as well as, and we'll talk about that, but other e-clutches are also from BMW, and they've named theirs the Automated Shift Assist, not to be confused with the Automated Shift System, that acronym. So they named it the Automatic Shift Assist. Yamaha has theirs. Yamaha's functions very similar to.
Uh-oh. Did we lose him?
Uh-oh. I
You
think
still
we lost
there?
Tom.
You lost me already?
Yeah, you're coming back.
I know I'm having bandwidth issues.
Yeah.
Coming back?
Yeah,
Let me know when you can actually hear me again.
Yep, try kicking your camera off. That'll free up some of your bandwidth.
How about now?
Good.
All right. Good. We can stop that. You don't need to look at me. How's that work?
We'll just pretend.
Perfect.
We all know what Tom looks like.
It's just it's a, well, I always say that, I've got a face for radio, a voice for TV, so I do a podcast. But as far as BMWs and Yamaha have automatic going e-clutch that have just come out, and KTM has one. I'm less familiar with the KTM one. There hasn't been a whole lot of press on it. But so Honda's is a little bit different. Honda's kind of like a bolt-on. Right now, it just came out on the two versions of their new 650 CB, and it's literally a bolt-on. So we should be able to see it in almost any other bike possibly coming from Honda. Theirs is different. It's not a pure automatic. You still have to shift, but it's kind of like on the lines of like the Cubs, where if you come to a stop, it will go into neutral automatic, but you have to shift down into first, and you've got to shift up through the gears. It's kind of like a quick shifter all the way, but you don't have to pull in any clutch when you come to a stop. So it kind of works, I guess, maybe a little bit like a recluse in a way.
Okay.
The other difference is that you still have a clutch there, and you can hit a setting or hit a button, I think it is, on it, and go into pure manual mode, and it'll work with your clutch, with your foot shifter, just as if, like any motorcycle. So they took that approach because they've got the DCT, which is purely automatic.
Actually, that doesn't even
And
that e-clutch, that actually sounds like about the perfect implementation of that, because I've ridden the DCT bikes and they work pretty well. The one thing I've noticed with them is with no control over the clutch, when you get into real slow speed stuff, especially with the off-road, like in the Africa Twin, I wasn't real confident in how it worked. But if you have the option to switch back and forth with this e-clutch, that gives the accessibility to people that may need it. But we went through the same thing in the trucking world too with that, because you get the old dogs. If it doesn't have a manual, it's not a real truck. I'll be honest, man. Let me tell you, my P&D route, my auto shift truck, not having to push that clutch in 3 million times a day through city traffic, kind of okay with it.
My dirt bike, I'm running a Recluse in it.
Oh, no
and
kidding.
the not having to deal with that clutch modulation and like the slow speed stuff, it's almost like having a cheat code for running a dirt bike. Yeah, absolutely. Like, you're not worried about when you're going on an uphill that you're going to stall it out. It's going to lug. It's going to do what it's going to do, and you're not stalling. It's like into like tight rock stuff and all. You're not having to sit there and feather it and try to get it right. It's doing it for you, and it works pretty perfectly.
Now, when I did the
Honda somewhat line, and the reviews that I've seen of it, I looked at, I've read 2 different reviews and I watched 3 different video reviews on it. They all said that it engaged the clutch from a stop very, very smoothly. A little tricky as it warmed up and the oil started warming up, but once it was hot, they thought it shifted fantastic. Even in the slow speed maneuver. And you're shifting with your foot. You still have to do that. You just don't ever have to use your hand. And it's kind of like a quick shift on steroids.
Yeah, so it's like a quick shifter where you
over the east. You never have to pull in the clutch to come to a stop.
So it's like a quick shifter, only the clutch does all of it and you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the other piece of it is that the DCT is, it's 2 clutches. It's a lot of internals that have to go into the engine. It adds about, I think it's 22 to 24 pounds to the DCT. This, like I say, it's kind of a bolt-on to the side of the engine a little bit that Honda's doing, and it weighs about 2 pounds, 2 to 4 pounds, I think, somewhere in that range. So that's, that's almost nothing for that. And that's, like I say, it's kind of like an external bolt-on. Yamaha are approaching this differently. They are internals inside the transmission actuators that move the clutch back and forth. So it's internal to it. The clutch lever is gone completely on BMWs and us.
Yeah, we had.
So for those,
I don't know if Yamaha's is any similar to what they did with the FJR AE back in the day, but I rode one of those and that was atrociously bad.
I think this is kind of like a next generation. So with the Yamaha and the BMW, they're not even a shift lever. So the clutch is gone, the shift lever is gone. You've got paddle shifters if you want to manually shift. So very similar to a DCT in that respect. If you want to shift manually, you have a finger on your left hand that shift up and down. But if you put it in full automatic mode, it works fully automatic, just like the DCT.
Okay.
So, again, they took a little different first show it. Right now, it's on the new GSA. For BMW, it's on the new GSA. I believe it will be coming on the GS. Spy shots of the 25 RT are showing it that it's probably going to be on the new RT in 25. And then with Yamaha, right now, they're only offering it on the MT-09. No other, I haven't heard of any other bike so far.
That's a really
getting their automatic.
I was just saying that's an interesting choice. Yeah, I mean that's not a not a beginner bike, and it's typically not a bike that somebody in their upper years of riding is going to be riding either.
Yeah,
it's
right.
It's more of a hooligan.
I think
bike.
It's more of a. It's kind of a test platform because you can expect technology. The workings of the MT-09 are the same as what's on the Tracer. I am sure within a year you're going to, or two at the outside, but maybe next year you're going to see it on the Tracer.
I would have thought they would have done the Tracer first.
Yeah, that would have made more sense to me. I mean, on a touring bike, that would be
true.
Yeah. But I mean,
so those new clutches come in. I think the operation in the industry is we're seeing the ground floor that we're going to see this go throughout. A lot more options, a lot more motorcycles have that option. What do you guys think? You guys have been riding for years and years. I've already owned an automatic. I've owned many scooters. So I'm love that, just twist and go.
So
what do you guys think of having an automatic, and would you ever buy one?
Would I buy one? So only if I had to. I'm kind of a purist. I'll be one of those guys. It's like, nope, give me my clutch, give me my shifter, because that's part of the experience for me on a bike. And now, I will say, if I ever got to a point where it was either quit riding or buy an E-clutch, all right, give me the E-clutch. I would rather keep riding and extend my riding career. But
so I would consider, especially the Honda setup like they have, on something that I was riding dirt on, because if it's going to take that risk of stalling out on a hill on me versus continuing having the momentum to keep moving, I like that idea. Now, I don't know that I'd go purposely looking for one for a street bike for myself, but I could see it being a stop to help somebody that necessarily doesn't have that experience using a manual transmission, or can't get that clutch, the friction zone down in riding, eliminating that barrier to entry, which, I mean, I think anything that brings more motorcyclists into the fold is a good thing.
Right.
Now, both of you guys have test ridden the DCT, right? So you at least tested out an automatic transmission.
Yeah, I actually did a pretty extensive demo on an Africa Twin, where we were doing we were demoing them for some ADV coursework for a school, and we spent a couple of hours on the bikes.
My only experience with the DCT was in one of Honda's side-by-sides, and it's the Pioneer 1000, which basically uses the same motor from the Africa Twin, and it's almost the same transmission out of it. And I mean, it felt more like an automatic to me than a manual. Like you could tell that there was just like that little bit of like slush, like that you would feel in an automatic transmission. These E-clutch,
clutches.
What these E-clutch bikes sound like, it sounds like this is something completely different, where that existing transmission's there. All that's changing is the clutch module. And I think that's going to take a lot of that out. I think this is...
Yeah, the Honda one is more of a bolt-on that will actuate the clutch for you. The BMW and Yamaha one are internal actuators that will manipulate the clutch for you.
I was looking at some of the pictures of the Honda one. It looks like it's 2 electric motors that sits on top of the motor where the linkage would be for the clutch to go into the motor, and the motors actually do the clutch activation for you, or when you pull the cable, it overrides it.
Yeah, I mean,
I loved it. I love the idea of
you
something you can override.
You might be able to bolt that onto almost anything, depending on how they make this. It sticks out of the engine by about 2 inches or so, but doesn't seem to be obtrusive.
No.
It's a neat concept, but it doesn't get away from the shifting completely. It's not pure automatic. You still have to manually shift the gears up and down.
Yeah, and that was always.
You guys ridden because I am not curious. I started riding on scooters and then went to motorcycles, and I've owned scooters on and off for the last 18 years. So I love the concept of just a twist and go. I'm not married to my shifters.
See, it's funny. I like when I ride scooters, the twist and go doesn't bother me at all. I still love them to death. But when I get on a traditional motorcycle, it's like I have to have that clutch and shifter. I have to have that engagement. If that makes any sense at all.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then take this now to the other level, and this has been bandied about as to we're all MSF coaches. Now there's nothing available yet in the sub 500 cc range for beginners, but what if there was a 250 300, the Honda 300s came with that automatic where the clutch goes away. You might still have to shift, clutch goes away. We think of that as a training bike rather than the traditional way we teach MSF now.
So I could see it being a positive for ADA compliance. So if we get somebody that wants to learn how to ride but cannot operate a traditional clutch, for some disability reason, yes. But at the same time, for a full class M, I do think they should train and learn the clutch, because clutch control is a huge part of riding a bike with a clutch.
But if there's a proliferation of automatics, you don't have to learn to use clutch in a car. Just think of how much time and energy is spent in the BRC teaching clutch control that could go away.
The biggest fear
is learn how to ride.
Now I know with tractor trailers, they did something like with the proliferation of the auto shifts coming in. They now have an automatic restriction they put on your license if you trained in an auto shift and didn't test in a manual. You'd almost have to do that because
we don't do that for cars.
Yeah, but unlike a car, you don't use the friction zone in a car other than to take off and stop. Like that's it. There's so little clutch engagement in a manual transmission car, whereas with a motorcycle, there's a lot more use of that friction zone. The clutch control is paramount.
So
I'm going to use myself as an example, though, because I started riding on scooters for the first 18 to 24 months and then bought a motorcycle. And so I knew how to ride for 2 years. And I rode maxi scooters, a 400 and a 650. And then I bought a manual bike and now incorporated shifting into my riding. And it wasn't a hard transition.
Here, if they sign a waiver, they can ride their own bike through the course. And I've seen people run Buddy 125s through through our state course and get their license out of it. So that's a CVT transmission. And
this was the controversial part. And we all belong. I think we all belong to the MSF Facebook forum, and I am a huge proponent where I think if you taught people how to ride on an automatic motorcycle, the amount of time that I spend in that course that could be devoted towards additional skills of riding rather than clutch use that goes on for, God, what is it, at least 3-4 exercises. And we have so many exercises are dedicated to just how we manipulate the clutch. And, it's a different technique in an automatic. To do real slow maneuvers in an automatic, or if you don't have that clutch, you've got to use the rear brake. Like on a scooter, you've got to learn how to drag your rear brake as you do the slow speeds. Different technique, the result is the same. But you guys not on board with that.
I have no problem with it. So I am not from the MSF side. I do it for another program, and
gotcha. Yep.
And I don't see a problem with not doing it with using automatic bikes for the program. I mean,
I guess my concern would come back down to you teach them, they learn and test on, say, a DCT bike or this e-clutch system. Then they go out 6 months later, and now we all know that the majority of people coming through our class are not natural riders. There's a few people out there. I mean, I know people that I've taught that would be able to make the shift themselves very simply, but most are not.
See, I still think that's less dangerous than them going through the class on a Grom and immediately walking right into the Suzuki dealer and buying a Hayabusa.
Oh, I agree with that too.
Yeah,
like
you can do that.
So unless we're actually going to take the jump and go to tiered licensing, because the other place I see this is you can go take the class on this small bike, and then you go get a trike, where it's completely different. Like you do not ride those two things the same. But you have a Class M, you're good to ride that too.
Yeah, that's the catch-22 to this whole thing is the tiered system. There's one reason you will never see tiered licensing in the United States, and its name is Harley
Davidson.
But
yeah.
Well, I mean, and that's kind of the thought I had. It kind of comes back to what we talked about in a prior episode. You're teaching people at a dealership on a 350cc bike that they can't go in the dealership and buy, when the smallest thing they can buy in there right now is 96 horsepower and 960 cc's and over 500 pounds.
Yep.
And you're trying to not sell that bike because that's the girl bike.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You really need the
full dresser.
You really need the fat boy.
Yeah. Street glide, road glide. No. But
so
yeah.
that was the discussion I wanted to have on this. Is that I'm a huge proponent of it. I use on my Tiger, I use my quick shifter all the time. As soon as it worked, it doesn't really work well from first to second gear, but once I'm in second gear, after that, I use it up and down the whole time.
Hell,
so
I don't have a quick shifter, and I barely use my clutch to go up shifting.
Oh yeah, I mean techniques. Yeah, you could do that as well. But I just think we're going to see a lot more. This is the beginning of automatics, and you're going to see it more and more come into the industry, and more bikes either optioned with it. I think it's going to be like ABS was 10, 12 years ago. Remember ABS as far as 12 years ago was there were a few bikes with it. It was an option, and it cost you a couple grand more perhaps for some of the ABS. Right now we're in that spot of like where ABS was a dozen years ago of it's just starting out. People are still afraid of it and don't like it because it's not natural. As Rob, as you said, it doesn't give you that old school feel of connection to the bike.
Right.
But I'm going to say it's coming.
I'm not opposed to it. I think that they should also learn the clutch, because if they go out, let's take the tiered licensing thing away, because I completely agree with both of you guys on that. We need it. But there's such a difference in how a clutched motorcycle works versus a DCT or a CVT, that they could get themselves into a real tight situation before they ever get out of our first gear. That would be my concern.
See, I think RJ's right about that. I think put that in the same bucket of you're learning on a 20 horsepower motorcycle, and you can go the next day and go buy a 200 horsepower motorcycle.
True
Well,
that.
some people do.
That 5%
I've watched it.
Is going to send to 90 first year.
Well, I mean,
So,
we're actually investigating using some of the Navis in place of the Groms, so that's kind of the same idea.
so at one of the schools in Jack, full of Navis, I have not taught a class with someone. One of the last classes, someone who requested a scooter because they're never going to own a regular bike. Unfortunately, they didn't make it through the class even on the scooter. It was too much for them.
Yeah, I do know we've actually,
So that's available.
yeah, over the years we've offered to, like, we'll allow the scooters in for the people who want to get up on the scooters who are over 49 cc's. And Wisconsin doesn't have a scooter exemption, so technically if they do it on a 125 cc scooter and pass the class, they've got a full class M.
I just think of it as I approach it as to just the sheer that we spend on clutch manipulation. If we then refocused on other aspects of safety and riding, just how much better the class could be. Personal opinion has nothing to do with MSN, just the way that I would approach it.
I think if it becomes more of a more available thing for all bikes, like you could get, like you were saying earlier, get down into some of the 300 and 500 cc bikes, and it starts to become more available, then we should start looking at it.
Yeah, like I said, I think anything that it gets people on bikes is a good thing,
Right.
even if it is scooters.
Yeah, just how much this is going to open up the industry, because I know I definitely grew up manual transmissions in the majority of cars. I'm a little older than you guys, so unfortunately Jerry's not here to defend me with that. But in classes today, it's rare to find a person that has driven a manual transmission car or has any experience utilizing a clutch at all.
Right. Oh, I mean, we've last couple of years have put 2 kids through driver's ed, and they don't even have an option for manual transmission in driver's ed anymore.
Well, yeah, and they don't. I mean, very few people actually know how to drive manuals anymore. I mean, I think I'm probably the oddball of everybody that I know that one of my vehicles is an automatic out of 9, and that one's an automatic because you can't get a manual big truck anymore.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's coming, and I think it's going to hopefully be a really good thing for the industry, open up riding, I think, to a group of people that are afraid of the need to manipulate a clutch.
No, it's definitely a good trend. I mean,
Yeah,
more,
It's like I say, it's like ABS along the lines. Remember back in the day, I don't want ABS. I can stop quicker without it.
True.
You know, it's I shift quicker without, than an automatic transmission or a DCT. Well, kind of. No, you can't, because look at every $500,000 sports car.
Yep.
They're DCTs or automatics.
I mean, MotoGP, they don't use the clutch after the launch.
Yep. The quick shifters all the way. And, you know, the ABS thing, too. Unless your name starts with Valentino and ends with Rossi, you're not outbreaking that ABS.
Well, I thought it was kind of funny that you were talking about the Navis.
Yeah.
But that is going in the opposite direction. Who needs ABS when you have drums front and rear?
True that.
Yeah. Yeah. Something as a suggestion. Yeah, unfortunately, we still have some, what the hell are they? Honda Nighthawks with drum brake from. I have to be subjective on scoring the quick stop with those bikes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, anything we can get to get new riders into the fold, bring it. Anything that'll help new people with some kind of disability that wouldn't traditionally allow them to ride, bring it. The more people in this sport, the better. Because, you know, more people, more stuff.
Well, we beat that one. We'll see how these other things come around. And if you guys get a chance to test ride any of these, go out and let's report on it, especially the Hondas and the Yamahas.
I really want to try one of those new Honda e-clutches. So we'll see if we start popping over next year when they start really getting the dealers.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah, we're even the BMW start showing up early next year.
Oh, you know I'm going to go test the new R1300 GSA.
How do they work in the
mud? If I can get somebody to let me try it, we might find out. I know a place.
For everybody that's not personal friends with Rob, he tried to turn his brand new BMW into a mud submarine.
It didn't work.
It was buried up to the jugs.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Well, GSA, that might improve its look.
The BMW saw Brown, thought it was a Starbucks latte, and jumped right in.
I'm thirsty. Oh, that was the worst smelling latte ever. That was a funk. Oh my god. All right, so RJ, you had an interesting topic this week.
Yeah, so this is kind of brought on from a few people in the MSTA Facebook pages sharing the article from Nick Lasinich, the Pace, and then people following it up with the Pace too, and a few people saying that this was an article that they've read, and I've read it as well in the past, and that it actually had some meaning to them. And I wanted to see if there was any particular piece of motorcycle related writing that you found either inspiring or particularly entertaining, or if you had like a favorite author writing as well. And I'll start off with a little bit more humorous one. One of my favorite pieces was from 1996 in Cycle World. Hunter S. Thompson wrote a review of the 900 SS entitled "Song of the Sausage Creature," and it is I'm a fan of Hunter S. Thompson's writing in general, so I enjoyed that one. Also, I mean, anything Peter Egan has ever written.
Oh yeah.
I came into motorcycles more starting off as a gearhead and reading his car writings in, I believe that was Road and Track. And I enjoyed him then, and then starting to read some of the motorcycle stuff, and I think I have all three of the Leanings books that they've come out with that were like the collections of articles. I typically enjoy anything he writes, and another Cycle World one, Kevin Cameron,
Yeah.
which just getting into the technical things, and I mean in his writing, and even like they have a podcast now. The other day it was an hour and a half talking about combustion chamber temperatures, and I enjoyed listening to the entire thing and learned a lot of engineering side of things from about bikes. Just kind of looking to see if anybody else has any ones that they particularly like.
So, my biggest biggest influence when I was a kid was one Mr. Clement Salvadori. So, if anybody's been familiar with Rider Magazine, they've been around forever. Rider Magazine is very heavily geared towards sport touring riders. And that's actually where I kind of found this little niche. Luckily, I found it in my teens. But Clement Salvadori is the beret-wearing, world-traveling, freelance moto journalist. And when I realized at a young age that I was never going to be a fighter pilot in the Air Force, I had shifted to a desire to be a moto journalist and to live that nomadic lifestyle that he has so eloquently been able to pull off. Never did that either.
Not to do special operations for the State Department.
No.
Like him.
Yep.
he is literally he has to be the caricature for the most interesting man in the world.
100%. Like,
and did some of the stories he wrote about, like going out with a bottle of wine and a loaf of bread for lunch, and just like finding some random spot to go picnic along a creek. I mean, he is a fantastic writer too.
Yeah, he's a fantastic writer. He's quite the character. I mean, just the guy lives a life of adventure on the dirt cheapest level. And he is happy. But yeah, he was always a big influence in everything I did. And funny enough, when I went to college, I actually minored in journalism. So I still, to a point, had that goal. Just didn't want to move to California. So
either did Peter Egan.
No. And funny enough, where's Peter Egan actually from?
And look where he lives now.
Yeah, he's back home. Now, am I too old to get into it? Well, I think that's kind of, yeah.
Unfortunately, I think that's going to... I'll kind of give a preview of the next part of this before Tom goes. It kind of segues into that, though. Print's dead.
Ah, yes and
or
no.
Just about.
So, actually, because of your next question, we'll touch on that a little bit. I would argue that it's coming back.
I hope it is, because I miss it dearly.
So, we'll touch on that when we hit the next part of that, because I have a little bit of observation to this and something I've seen, but the other one I've been following, I was a big fan of was, I don't know if you guys are following any of the Iron Butt Rally stuff, but there was a book called Against the Wind by Ron Ayers. And, Tom's got a second one. We have a team of two Toms.
All right, and I'm on both because I went away my internet. There we go. One of them dropped completely.
You're there, but you're there, but you're not audible.
You can hear me?
It's
not really.
Really choppy.
All right, hold on, I'm gonna drop and I'll come back in just a sec.
All right. So, Ron Ayers was an Iron Butt competitor, Iron Butt finisher. wrote Against the Wind, a couple other books as well. And it's a really good look into the mind of an Iron Butt Rally finisher during the rally. And actually, that book was part of the reason that I got into the IBR interest. That's why I started following it. So I started kind of messing around with the Iron Butt Association in general. It was him and then Bob Higdon. So Bob Higdon's another one that I don't know. The way they write, it's like all the shenanigans that are in our heads. They figure out a way to get them on paper. I will add to that one too, because they're actually loosely associated with MSTA. Because a lot of MSTA people tie into the Iron Butt Association stuff too, so we follow them. There was a book launched this year by Wendy Crockett and Ian McPhee called Pushing Miles. Oh my God. That is if you could just blurt out the kind of random shenanigans that come out of the head of myself and my local riding buddies, that's about what it would sound like.
Another book, and I actually went over and got it, was Big Sid's Vincati.
I haven't seen that.
Written by Matthew Bieberman. His dad Sid was like basically the Vincent person.
Oh,
for like that everybody got their Vincents either restored by or worked on, or he had touched most of the Vincents that are in the United States.
Ooh.
At some point in time or another. And Matt and his dad had a little bit of a strained relationship through the years. And when his dad ended up having some heart issues, he bought a Ducati. I think it was a SS, one of the 70s ones. And they put a Vincent motor in it, in the chassis, and fabricated it. And that was kind of gave his dad his will to live for several years afterwards. Wow. And I had lost my dad unexpectedly, relatively young. And it kind of hit both things, like talking about the bikes. And my dad was a mechanic, and I was not had very little mechanical interest when I was younger until I got out of the house and started working in the garage more with them. So it was a good book about like the actual mechanics of building the bike, plus the little bit of the relationship end of it.
Oh, that's awesome. Tom, did you rejoin us?
I did. Can you guys hear me now?
Oh, so far much better.
All right, yes. Better. That's unfortunately my internet provider sometimes just goes away. It's the wonderful dealings of having service from a monopoly, because I have no other choice.
Comcast?
Hey, how'd you guess?
Lucky guess.
Good old, not even fiber, good old, 30-year-old cable is the only thing available to me, unless I want to put a satellite dish on my townhome for DirecTV, which is even worse.
Apparently Starlink is fantastic.
I got a buddy who kind of has a lake house in the there's no service out to him, and he uses Starlink, and he likes it. It's excellent for his use. He had a DirecTV dish for internet, and Starlink works fantastic for him.
That's expensive though.
If that's your only choice,
it's cheaper than DirecTV. It's cheaper than DirecTV was.
I don't think it was that much for him, and other than the cost of the dish and such. But I mean, hey, I'm in the same boat. I'm in a major metro area, and I have no choice as to who I get internet service from. So I'll rant about that some other time.
So how about you? Any favorite
on the writing thing?
Yeah,
not so much, because I came into this later in life than you guys. When I first started riding, I of course read the Proficient Motorcycling, and I still have the book. Huff was, I forget the full author's name, but Huff was the author of that. Magazines, I used to read all the magazines. I did like Rider magazine and what is it, Salvadori?
Yeah.
He's retired now, I believe.
Nope.
No, he's not retired.
Still freelancer.
I didn't think he was still writing. I did enjoy his articles. Egan less so. Sorry, RJ, but that was just way too technical and deeper dive than I just wanted to ride the damn bike. I don't care about how it works. Turn the key and pull in the clutch and go. But yeah, I read a whole bunch of stuff, and then of course, yeah, the Pace and the Pace 2. Those were kind of required reading, but I don't read a whole lot of motorcycle stuff, and especially nothing world travel. I'm never going to world travel on a motorcycle, so it really doesn't have much interest for me in that respect.
That's why you live vicariously through the book.
Yeah, I'd rather read about things, stuff like that I can go do, or places I can go see. So
like Star Review.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, there you go. I do read the Star Review when that comes out. But
hey, you know what? Maybe that's my ticket into getting into moto journalism. Hey, Norm, do we need another writer?
They do. They're always looking for content.
Oh boy. I'm gonna have to give that a shot.
They let Jerry write.
Oh, then I'm a shoo-in. No, I'm kidding. Actually, Jerry's articles are entertaining.
Yeah, they are. We miss you, Jerry.
Oh, very much. He has his own special brand of personality you just can't help but love. All right, so you did a first gear demo.
Let's get into where are we going for written content.
Oh, yeah, we have to cover that.
So, and I'm starting the my cabinet upstairs. I have my it looks like a graveyard of lost print journals that I would get. I got Motorcyclist, which they shut down. Then I have the last issue of Cycle World sitting up there. They shut down. I was reading. Oh, what was the Iron and Air? I was getting that, and that shut down. It seems like there's very few print articles or print magazines still around, and I sit and look at a computer all day. I'd rather read it in print. Like I don't do the e-readers for books and stuff. I buy the book.
So that actually, I was one of the adopters of the digital because I like the fact that I could load it all onto one place. I can take one device with me. But what's been driving me nuts, and this seems to be and it also started happening with video games, and I've noticed a lot of people shifting because of this too. The digital stuff is so easy for it to go away. They can take it away at any time. Then you can't go back and reference it. You can't go back and see it. You never actually own the legacy, the history. It's at the whim of whoever owns the company, and they sell out so fast. And I think that was a big reason a lot of the motorcycle publications went away, is a couple of big publishers were buying them all up. Well, now they've got
then they shut down.
Yeah, they've got 8 magazines doing the same thing. Well, they just basically bought out the competition. But a lot of people, and I've noticed especially the younger generations, they're shifting back. They want their physical copies. They want their hard copy, the books, because that never goes away. And I've talked to a couple of people that are in the print magazine industry. They're starting to see the same thing too. People are tired of the pop-up ads on top of the subscription fees just to look at a web page and get hammered with all this stuff, where they can just pick up the magazine and go, hey, this is nice. It's quiet.
Well, and I think our eyes get so tired just looking at screens all day long.
Yeah.
And like my previous job, I sat at a desk for 12 hours that had 8 to 9 monitors at it. And so I spend all that time looking at screens. I want to look at something not lit up for a little bit.
Well, there's actually some science behind that too, and that's why you see a lot of the blue light filter glasses out. It's
I have them.
Yeah, it's a real thing. Now, like,
and I think there's also a psychological trigger for me too, that when it's something in paper, it's for pleasure.
Yeah.
Versus if it's something that's on a screen, it's probably work related.
Yeah. I mean, there's that, and then like I've noticed, I'm reading Pushing Miles on my iPad right now, just because I wanted to read it, and I had a certain, like, I didn't want to wait for it to get here in the mail. I'm gonna order the hard copy, but I knew I was gonna have some time, and I wanted to read it then. I've been trying to read it on the iPad, and normally with a book, I'll get 2 or 3 chapters out, no problem. I'm good for maybe a chapter, and then my eyes start to burn.
It's for me. It's not just print either. Like I buy vinyl records when I can because I own it. Like it's mine now, and there's something different. And this kind of actually I think kind of goes back to the previous topic of wanting the analog experience.
Yeah.
Versus the digital experience where the things are doing everything for us.
And I think that's a big part of where we're going in the future right now. It's like they're so overwhelmed by automation and complexity and everything else in their daily lives. There's been a big push to get back to a simpler life. They can pick up that piece, that book or that magazine, and just sit there in the quiet with a basic light, no whirring fans, no anything, and just relax.
The other thing I have noticed too, so Cycle World still exists online.
Yeah.
However, it's a little bit nuanced in that it's owned by one of the largest finance companies for motorcycles, Octane. And you can definitely tell that there has been a change in the level of reviews for what's being reviewed. That it is now a sales pitch and not necessarily a thorough review.
And I think that might have been the big death of a lot of those other magazines too. People didn't quit buying them because they didn't want print. They quit buying them because they started to suck.
Like, well, I mean, I know one of the podcasts I listened to, there was an online publication called Asphalt and Rubber.
Yeah.
And the editor of that, there were certain manufacturers that would not invite him to press launches anymore.
Yeah.
Because he said
Jensen. I used to like this stuff. I like this stuff a lot.
So
he's left the industry.
Yeah, well, not necessarily. He's left the print industry. He's now the president of Kramer Motorcycles. Who's
has he really? Okay.
Yeah, they're going to be starting a Moto America class for the junior age kids on these Kramers that are actually prototype bikes, to try and get us a little bit closer to getting somebody back into MotoGP.
Oh man.
Yeah. I think the issue with the print magazines was that primarily is that the information that you read in it was 3 to 4 months old.
Mm-hmm.
It happened ages ago, and you want to, now you can put online, you go and do your press junket and demo the bikes and write about it and have it published within a few days.
Well, and even that though, there a lot of times there is a delay between those two things, and that Jensen had a podcast as well.
Yeah,
And
I used to listen to that.
Yeah.
It's still around. It's just two different people now. But or it's Shaheem and one of the mechanics for one of the King of the Baggers bikes. But he would talk about how he did this review, but he can't talk about it because they would put these gags in effect, and it sometimes would be like a month,
Right?
Yeah.
After they wrote it
true.
until they would actually publish it.
Yeah, that's true. So it was funny listening to you guys because I'm a couple decades older than both y'all, but it's funny because I think I embrace technology a hell of a lot more than either of you.
Which is funny because I'm an ex-tech guy, and I'm a giant nerd.
I read magazines when those were out, but I never kept them. As soon as I finished the magazine, it went in the trash. I prefer having all my books, all my magazines now, articles, everything on my tablet. I still get Rider magazine, or I pull it off the internet, as well as the Star Review, but those are all in PDFs on my tablet. That's my preferred reading method because everything is there for me.
Is Rider magazine still in print?
Yes.
I believe you can still get it printed. Yeah.
Yep. It's expensive for the subscription. It's like $90 a year for the print, but they do still do it. Now, to their credit, that $90 a year saves them from a whole ton of advertising. So
yeah,
if you ever notice, like Rider magazine, the advertisements are very slim and well curated versus a lot of the other ones.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. There was another one. There was another magazine that was like that. Was it Motorcycle Consumer News?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They existed without advertising at all.
Yeah. And I think
that was my favorite.
They're now just a website, aren't they?
Yeah, no, they went belly up several years ago. Yeah.
Well, and it's funny because for a long time I went that direction. Like I wanted the tech. I wanted to be able to throw everything on my tablet because then I've got the world at my fingertips and a device that weighs nothing and can pack away wherever I go. But yeah, now it's like I'm sitting around the campfire last night and I'm reading this book on the iPad, and all I can think of is, I kind of wish I had the physical copy in my hand right now, and I could just turn off all the tech. I'd shut off my phone. Like anybody I cared about was there. So, for the most part, anybody that was going to get a hold of me at 11 o'clock at night anyway. And it's just, I don't know. There's something about flipping the script and going back to a more simple.
Like I will say my son's 30 years old, and he prefers books. He reads a ton of books, and he's got a library in his home now that both he and his wife just are voracious readers of all kinds of stuff. And I've gone the other way. I used to have a library in the house, and now I want it all on one single device. It's been years since I've read a physical book.
See, now I've actually started going, like I bought some of the old Twist of the Wrist Volume 2, Proficient Motorcycling, things like that. 101 Road Tales by Clement Salvadori. I bought the books because finding them in digital format online is almost impossible. Like,
gotcha.
We've got Amazon Kindle and all that, because my wife's a big reader, so she's got like Kindle Unlimited and all that. And but she's even the same. She would rather have the physical copies. So the books that she really enjoys, she'll go buy physical copies of.
Yep.
But
yeah, it's I'm definitely I guess a technoid, but I always have been. So I've been in the computer age since I built my first computer in '82, I think it was. So
and it's funny. Now there's another spot. I am an avid gamer. On PC, console, it don't matter. If it's a video game system of any kind, I like it. I got a crazy built desktop. On my computer, I am a Steam fanatic. I don't own a physical copy to anything on PC. But my consoles, I will go out and get the disc version of the consoles just so I can buy the physical copies of the discs. Like, I have to have that physical media for my consoles. Don't know why.
Interesting.
And it's all digital. I can get it all through the PlayStation Store or the Xbox Store. But, yeah, I go buy the physical. Just didn't.
Yeah, that I don't know how it works. I don't do any video games, so I have no idea how that portion works. But RJ, good subject. It's just I like reading about motorcycles and reviews and such. I just want it all digital. I don't want paper to lug around. Save the trees.
And Rob, Rider Magazine, it's $59 a year.
Oh, it's $59? I thought it was $89.
Yeah, for 2 years.
Oh, maybe I did a 2-year subscription.
Yeah.
I mean, it's on auto renew, so I don't care.
Yep. Hey.
Either way, I'm getting it. But speaking of, now we need to talk about a certain Aprilia and the fact that you only got it in the first gear.
Yep. So actually, 2 Aprilias really. This weekend, I had the opportunity to ride a Tuono V4 factory, and the riding position for those that have been around for a little while and remember them was very Honda Super Hawk-esque.
Yep.
To me, bars not quite it had a bar, not a clip on, but you were really stretched out forward, a lot of weight forward on the wrists. The motor was fantastic. Unfortunately, the test ride that I got to do it on, we could barely get out of first gear. And that, first gear on a bike at 40 miles an hour was 5,500, 6,000 RPM. So that's just where that motor is actually starting to come alive. Bike handled well, felt well made, but wasn't necessarily something I'd rush it. I'm not going to go rush out and buy one. At the same time, I also got to ride a Touareg 660. It felt like a large, or not real large though, dirt bike position, nice flat seat all the way to the back, not a deep cutout. That motor was very torquey. It lugged well. It had thought it should have revved a little bit more than it did. The chassis was very composed over bumps, like really didn't notice potholes on it. Nice, narrow. It was a very narrow bike compared to like my Tiger. But it felt like it'd be a good adventure bike that you're actually going to use off-road. That it would feel like a large dirt bike somewhere like around the T7. Not my cup.
The rev limit?
Yeah, it was.
Was that maybe a break-in thing? Because those were all new bikes, weren't they?
Yeah, I was hitting the lights at, I think it was like 7,500.
Oh, okay.
So I'm used to my Tiger we're like 10,000, 9,500. So it just felt like it was a little short.
Yeah, that sounds like it's got a break-in limit on it.
Yeah, it must have, which was kind of odd for, if you're trying to demo something that you would have that on it. But yeah, it was that was the only thing that kind of was a little bit off-putting to it. But otherwise, bike rode very nice. I will say it was one of the first demos that I wasn't like, I'm going to go out and I really want to go buy one of these afterwards. But
I think
yeah,
we lost,
it was
I think we lost Tom.
completely this time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Darn Comcast. Yeah, actually, I've ridden the V4 or the 210 V4s. I think they're a hoot to ride, but it's not something I would have as an everyday bike.
Yeah.
They're fun. That V4 motor is just redonkulous.
It makes you want to rev it to make the noise.
Yes. That is one of the best sounding engines on the planet.
And I felt like the VFR was the same way.
Yes.
Any of the V4. The one thing I did notice about that bike was it had the typical Ducati problem, where when you have two cylinders exhaust ports directly under where you're sitting, there was a significant heat issue.
Roasting chestnuts on an open fire.
Yeah. There was a lot of sweat.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you have to get up and get moving, and even then, if it's a warm day, ooh,
yeah, it was mid 80s,
uncomfortable.
So yeah,
but that sound and the power make it so worth it.
Which is interesting. For some reason, Honda did not have that problem.
That's because the Honda made 100 horsepower, and the V4 210 makes significantly more.
I think it was 178, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's now the VFR also had a lot. The way the seat came up and the tank went down. Yeah, you had a pretty good buffer there, but yeah, the Ducatis, even the V2 Ducatis, like the Panigales, were the same way. The 1098, 1198. Oh yeah.
I mean, I had ridden not the newest, but the previous Super Sport, and that was the same way too. There was a significant amount of heat there.
And I think with those, it's because they use an L configuration more than anything, and that back cylinder is right there.
Yeah, I mean, the VFR is a 90-degree too.
Yeah,
but it's not positioned the same way.
Yeah, it's
a little The rear exhaust port's pointing down more than up.
Right. Yeah, I mean, but it's the price you pay for performance, because
absolutely,
as much as I love my 6th gen VFRs, the performance is not there. They just sound really good and look really good doing it.
And I mean, it's a difference between a Panigale and one of them. Look at the valve intervals.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the VFRs will go 100,000 miles and the valves will stay in spec the entire time.
Yep. Now V2, you're looking at timing belts and all that. However,
and
the V4s, they are long-term like they're 30,000 mile or 34,000 mile checks, just like on the
for the non-Desmo. For the Desmo ones, it's only the multi-stratas that are that long.
I thought they were all doing that now.
No, it's because the multi-strata doesn't use Desmo valves.
See, I thought they went away with that on the Street Fighter and the Diavol too.
Those two might be using the same as the multi-strata, because they're a little bit lower performance bike, but I know the Panigales are using Desmo still. Yeah. And some of them are eating clutches at less than 10,000 miles.
Ooh.
Especially the ones that have the dry clutch.
That's ouch.
And it's about a $4,000 service when you have to do everything.
Everything on a Ducati is $4,000. That was the one thing. You look at exhaust.
Yeah.
Oh my god! Like my favorite one is the 1200S, the Monster 1200S. A good exhaust for that will cost you half the cost of the brand new bike. The Akrapovic exhaust was $6,500.
Did you see why Akrapovic actually came into it? He started making exhausts because the Eastern exhausts were too expensive.
Uh-huh. And now
And-
his are
or the Western ones won, yeah, and the Eastern ones were junk. No, his are the most expensive.
Uh-huh. By a long shot.
Yeah.
Like I know the Akrapovic on my BMW, because mine's got the full system, not the BMW parts accessory one. It's the full HP front to back. It's the headers, the whole nine. That's like $3,000. It's pricey. And now you go buy like your Yamaha MT-09s, full exhaust from Akrapovic, $1,100.
Well, yeah, because there's no piping.
I mean, there's that, but even like the full sport bikes, the R1s, it was like 14. It's the Italian and German bike tax.
Yeah.
And they know they'll pay it, so they can charge it. But either way, yeah, the Toronto V4, I've always loved those bikes. I want to try that Aprilia Touareg, like really bad.
Yeah, I mean, I think I would have had a much better time doing to it than what you did with your BMW.
Yeah, well, at least it would have been easier to get out because it weighs about 300 pounds less.
Yeah, it did feel very light to move around. Carrie rode a RS 457.
Oh,
and she said her personal feelings on it were that the Ninja 400 spanked it in every way possible.
oh, no kidding.
I mean, and even looking at the power between like that and her Duke 390, there's such a minor difference. Like between the horsepower numbers, the torque numbers, even it really didn't have a quick shifter on a sport bike. Clutch feel was really bad.
Oh, that kind of sucks because that was a neat little bike.
Yeah, was kind of disappointed in it.
Oh, and then Kawasaki follows up with the ZX4RR,
which
it's got to be close to the same price.
Oh, so I've ridden a ZX4RR. I would sell multiple bikes to buy that bike.
Well,
that bike is that good.
And they're not that expensive. I mean, the Aprilia 457's got to be pretty close to that.
No, it's. I think it's significantly less.
Is it?
Yeah, I mean, the 4RR is they're like $10,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that bike was. There was a difference even in the way the quality felt on that 4RR versus. That bike was, you could tell that was something special.
Yeah.
In the way it was even put together. I mean, it was, yeah, that bike is in a different class.
Well, it's like back in the day, jumping from a Ninja 300 to the ZX6R. That's what it felt like to me. It was that much of a difference, but it's in the same engine class. Kind of.
And, well, yeah, I mean, and the giggles you're getting at 16,000 RPM. I mean,
it's so cool. I've got a big lust for that bike in the 40th anniversary paint job.
Yeah, I just saw there was one recently posted somewhere for like 8,800.
Oh my God, that would be wild.
Yeah, I wish I was in the market for one right now.
Right? Well, speaking of markets and places, and wow, that was the worst segue I think I've ever had. This right here, I'll tell you guys why I'm kind of tired this weekend. So, we actually had a family get together this weekend down in the Driftless region of Wisconsin. So I used that as an opportunity to do a ride to eat for the Wisconsin MSTA group. And we had a ton of fun. We wound up with about 8 people by the end of it. We did some awesome riding through the Driftless region. Wildcat Mountain State Park is like our little tail of the dragon over here. And it is just freshly repaved this year. So we made a few passes through there.
Is that like the tail of the dragon with cheese curds?
It's the cheese of the dragon.
Okay.
We're gonna call it the cheese of the dragon now. I have spoken. It's a pretty technical. Well, it's a really technical road, and it's a lot of fun. But yeah, we all got together, had some good food. Well, good-ish for Perkins. It was a simple place to meet. Everybody knew where it was at. Had a couple of guys ride from clear across the states, so it was a lot of fun. And we had some discussions on Twister. So if anybody's not familiar, for good 20 years or more, there was an event in Wisconsin called Twister, and it was an officially sanctioned MSTA rally that ran in the Driftless region. It went away with COVID, and we are bringing it back next year. Now, a little bit of news for that. We now have both days' routes confirmed. They've been verified. A couple of the Wisconsin members have ran them. I ran parts of them. We have the files out for them. It's Spring Green, Round Barn Lodge. We have the block rate set up for it for next year. It's June 14th and 15th of next year. And so you can call and make your reservations now with the block rate. We have pretty much everything in order. So during the off season, it's basically just getting route sheets done. So you guys have paper route sheets and all that fun stuff. But if you are anywhere near this area and want to have some fun in the Driftless region with a whole bunch of MSTA people, come find us. Twister's coming back, so that's my little news cap on it and my little Ride to Eat recap. So lots of fun. That's what this is all about. That's what MSTA is. It's getting together and hanging out with these people and making the friendships, and the bikes are just a bonus.
Well, it's something everybody has in common to enjoy each other's company, because, I mean, everyone likes sitting around talking about bikes.
Yep. Yeah, we actually, I mean, there was a lot of conversations and jokes that weren't even stemming around bikes. Dan can confirm that he saw blood running out of my helmet from the vein that burst in my head the first time through through Wildcat Mountain. We had comms going between a couple of us. So there was this little Mazda CX-5 or something, one of those small little SUV looking things. And we're going through, they are literally parking in every curve, and they are halfway across the line or more. This is all tight switchbacks, elevation, blind curves. Like, it's like doing that on Tail of the Dragon. You don't want it. This car could not keep itself in its lane, and I couldn't go slow enough. And there's no place for us to pull off as a group to give a gap. Otherwise, we're just going to get run over by whoever's coming up behind us. So at one point in time, they literally had gotten down to 4 miles an hour in a 15 mile an hour left-hand curve. I flipped my helmet open. It's like, guy, get on your side. And just after that, a RAV4 comes around the next bend, and they almost met. I think that RAV4 missed the wall on the side of the cliff by an inch. It's like, oh God, I don't want to be a part of this. Get me out. But we made 2 more runs through it afterwards, and they were much cleaner. So we got some good laughs out of it. Nobody got hurt. Nobody had to watch Mazdas eat Toyotas. So
it's always a good day.
Yeah. Aside from that little bit, it was a great day. Yeah, lots of good riding. So we're gonna bump over some final thoughts. I threw a little rapid fire question in here today that kind of ties into what RJ had for his topic. If you could have coffee or a beer or whatever with one motorcycle celebrity, and I say that in quotes, who would it be and why? So journalists, racers, anybody.
I'm gonna go with Egan.
Yeah, I can
and
totally
I have thought about that for years. I mean, he's one of those people that I've always did want to meet, like, because I'm into music, and a lot of the interest kind of go together between the cars and not just cars, but like the types of cars. Like I'm into those small British sports cars. In fact, the only car that I wish that I never sold is the Japanese version of one of those was my Miata that I had. I like it kind of it's that intimate connection with vehicles that some people get it and some people don't. And
Yeah.
I mean, it's just the same way. It kind of goes into the same thing with discussion with the clutches again too. Like there's that feeling of connection that happens with certain pieces of machinery and yourself, where it kind of just becomes an extension of you. And there's certain people that get that and people that don't. And I think Egan's one of those people that gets it.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. And he's one of those guys where he literally lives, eats, and breathes to his core all of that. I mean, like, you can just reading his writing, you can tell.
The second one, unfortunately, isn't that I say Peter because he's still alive. The other one would have been Nicky Hayden.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I can tell you some info later on about that one, but I've had the chance to meet him before. That whole family, they're just great people.
Yeah,
they really are. And actually, Roger Hayden, that man should have been crowned Dad of the Decade so many times. If you want to talk about a guy who celebrates and encourages his kids in every positive way, that's Roger Hayden to a T. Like,
well, I mean, you could see it from. I mean, not many of the riders go and pick their dad up on the bike after they win the championship.
100%. Like, that man is. He is the example that every father should be following. So, yeah. Honestly, okay, we know my feelings on Clement Salvadori, so obviously he's up there on my list. I do have one other one, though. Charlie Borman.
Okay, yeah.
So, my fascination with adventure bikes came from Long Way Round. And as much as, like Ewan McGregor seems like he'd be a fun guy, and, you know, me being a Star Wars fan, I could totally nerd out on Obi-Wan, but as much as I like Ewan, Charlie seems more like the everyday guy. He still thinks he's us.
Well, apparently Ewan, when you get him around motorcyclists, is very much so still that way.
Oh yeah.
Phil from Cleveland Moto. I know he has several stories about like meeting him somewhere and him actually like calling his wife on his birthday for him. And
so funny story. When they were doing Long Way Round, they came right through here. Oh, not this part of Wisconsin. We were down by La Crosse at the time. They came right through this area. And we had kind of found out that there was a couple of guys who were doing a around the world journey, and I hadn't put two and two together that that's who it was at the time, because this is all pre-show, pre-book. They were still in the middle of the journey. And as they were coming through the U.S., they were meeting up with groups of guys, and they were doing little parts of the rides with them. So a few of us went out and did it. We met them at a fuel stop. I'm talking to these guys, and he's right. Like, they were as knackered as they were. You could tell they were tired. Yeah, you get them around bikes, and they were all chatting up. So, but the one thing I noticed was Charlie is more the everyday guy. Ewan still has a little bit of that celebrity kind of panache to him, even after all of that. Charlie doesn't think he's as famous. He doesn't think he's as famous as he is. He doesn't think he's well known as he is. And at the time, he kind of wasn't. But it's never changed. And he's so active in all of the motorcycle scene. Like, that's basically his living now.
Dan has a good one in the chat. Keanu Reeves.
Yeah. I'd kind of be on board with that one, too. And I know that his acting is polarizing, but I enjoy him. I mean, I think, especially John Wick. Oh, he's a beast in John Wick. But he's enough. Yeah, you watch any of his interviews or any of the stuff he does, especially when he's talking about Arch. That is a huge. He is so invested in that, not just because of money. Like, that is a passion. That is his heart. So,
another one that it's probably less known for most people is Matt Scaba. He's the lead singer for Alkaline Trio.
Okay.
He is a huge motorcyclist, and like takes like on tour has a trailer that he usually has a Ducati in or some kind of bike with him and goes and rides, kind of like Pearl from Rush.
Oh yeah,
did too. Like just that level of biker.
That's another guy. If he was still alive, I would sit down and have a coffee with all day. Neil Peart.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yep.
And I'm not even a Rush fan. Like their music.
I'm not either.
But you know, I am a fan of Neil Peart.
Yeah.
Did you read his book?
Yeah. The book is fantastic.
Oh, it's amazing.
Like I'm not super familiar with Rush as a band, but the book was good.
I didn't even know that he was part of the band when I read that book.
In fact, some of the books that he talked about in the book, I've since gone and read.
Yep. Yeah. Well, I say we've had a good episode tonight.
Yeah, I think we're for date wise, I want to throw out we are doing a ride to food in Pennsylvania and a ride to Martin Moto's Modern Classic Show this Saturday, September 21st. So hopefully that the podcast will be out in audio form before that date.
But hopefully tonight or tomorrow night. Depends on how long YouTube takes to ingest it. And to make me so I can download it again. But yeah, definitely go to it. RJ is a fun guy. I mean, you know this. You watch him every month. I get to chat with him even more on the back end, so. But yeah, for sure. All right. Thanks for joining us. You know where to find the rest of us. Thanks for joining us in the chat. We had a pretty lively chat tonight. Even Carrie showed up. All right. Good night, everybody.